What an absolute treat this is right now to welcome to the show, and well-deserved to welcome this guy to the show. The architect last night, along with Jack Golke and his players, of course, the architect of last night's upset victory for Oakland against Kentucky, Oakland's coach, Greg Kampe, who is on Twitter at KampeOU. Coach, welcome to You Better You Bet. Nick Kostos and Ken Barkley, congratulations on last night's win. I'm guessing you're doing pretty awesome.
Oh, man, I am. I've about 6 5-hour energies and about 300 ounces of Diet Dr. Pepper. I haven't been asleep and trying to get ready for North Carolina State now. But, Nick, I want to tell you something. I'm amazed that I'm getting to talk to you because when I drive home from work, I listen to a sports radio station, and your commercials are always on there. And I'm always wondered, why haven't you ever given the bet on an Oakland game? So now that we've talked, maybe I'll be driving home someday and hear, hey, the best bet tonight is the over with Oakland or something. I'd love to hear that someday.
Well, stand by for tomorrow when we take Oakland to beat NC State straight up, Ken.
Right.
You guys are taking on NC State tomorrow. NC State pulling off an upset, not as good of an upset if we can be honest, but an upset of their own last night, taking down Texas Tech. Now, I'm not going to ask, this is not a betting question, but I do want to let you know, you guys are the underdogs yet again coming up tomorrow, about a 5.5-point underdog against NC State. Have you gotten a chance to think about the Wolfpack at all? What is the message to your team, Coach, as you get set to be the underdogs yet again tomorrow?
Well, we're always going to be when we play in this thing. So, we expect that, but I'm surprised it's 5.5. I figured it'd be double digits, but we spent the night getting ready for them. We're having a brunch at 11, and then we'll start the game preparation with our players. The big thing for me, the biggest advantage that I think we have in this game is this will be their 7th game in 11 days. NBA teams don't do that. Think about that. 7 games in 11 days, the emotion of that. And they're coming off a great win last night, and my hope is that we can keep this thing close and get it into the last 6 or 7 minutes. And where last night we wanted to play as slow as possible, Saturday we want to play as fast as possible because they got to be tired. That's a big boy they got there. He's good, but he's got to get tired. And so if we can get it into the last few minutes, and maybe fatigue will set in because I've never heard of 7 games in 10, 11 days. So
Coach,
that's our hope.
Coach, are you ready for this? I'll do this for you right now. So here it is. So coming up later today on Saturday, forget about the points. Give me Oakland on the money line to beat NC State. I'm Nick Kostos with your Sports Betting Minute, presented by BetMGM. Now, I haven't bet Oakland yet because I feel like the spread might go up for NC State. Like I see a juiced 5.5 for the Wolfpack tomorrow.
There are 2 6s on the board. 2 6s.
Oh yeah, so maybe wait a little bit here. I did bet the over during the break off of that piece of intel from Greg Kampe on our show. So over 146.5 is in the accounts.
Opener was 146. There are still 146s and half 146.5s on the board. Look, take everything with a grain of salt. Yeah, best laid plans, right? You can have a great strategy and then you get in the game and you want to. I think that's one of the great things about last night is like you switch it up a little bit. Like, do you think the plan going into last night? Hey, Golke, shoot 23s. 20. Like, you think that was the plan? Like, of course not. Like, if we had more time with him, I was just going to be like, in the timeout, are you just like, well, throw out the strategy. Like, we have a guy who's completely on fire from 3. Let's run him off a ton of screens and shoot a bunch of 3s. Like, it's really interesting. So, look, best laid plans, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. I was saying during the break something about NC State's ACC tournament run, 5 games in 5 days, beat Duke, beat North Carolina in the final. In that final, the market for the game was very interesting because fatigue was getting played on in 2 really significant ways, right? Fatigue was getting played on in that Carolina was getting bet. Like power rating wise, that's probably a 7-8 point spread, close 10.5. Why? Because NC State was playing their 5th game in 5 days. That was driving that market out on the favorite. The other thing that was happening is the under was getting bet really aggressively, and I think part of that framing was like fatigue. How is NC, like the game's going to be slower? It's 5 games in 5 days. How's that going to happen? And I remember Jay Billis for ESPN calling the game in like I think it was the under 8 in the first half. Goes, I think the perception coming into this game was that they were going to play slower because they're tired. They're doing the exact opposite. They want to run. And I think like it's not that the over is going to hit tomorrow, but like if you're betting like fatigue, like actually with NC State and then specifically with the strategy of the opposing coach, it sounds like fast is where we're headed tomorrow, despite, and to his point, DJ Burns, who's an absolute load, who was in foul trouble in the first half yesterday, ended up playing in the second half a lot more. Like, it makes sense, right? And I'm sure there was a part of Carolina maybe that was like, let's do that. And again, best laid plans. So it'll be really, now that we've been told that, and Coach said that on the show, be really interesting to match that with what happens in tomorrow's game.
Yeah.
PJ, maybe one more question on today's games. This could just be another bet that you like. All 3 ones are playing. They're all really big point spreads. Like the Mountain West is playing again and getting bet against in a couple games. Like one other bet that you like, and then maybe we do one question on tomorrow, just like an appetizer to get people started.
Yeah, I don't think many people are thinking about this angle, Ken. I remember we talked about it a couple weeks ago during Locketology. I'm going to take Grambling State plus 15.5 in the first half against Purdue. Guys, these big dogs have been doing pretty good in the first half, and then the favorites have been kind of running away with these games as well. If you remember, the year after Virginia lost to UMBC in the 116 game, the following year, they played Gardner-Webb. They were down by like double digits at one point in the first half, before Virginia ended up coming back and ended up cruising to a victory. But I could see Grambling State getting off to a hot start. Purdue's maybe down in the first 8 minutes of the game. Twitter is going nuts. Everybody's saying, is Purdue, are they really going to do this again? And then I think they wake up and they take care of business. But if you want kind of an off-the-radar bet, I'm liking these first half big underdogs that we're getting. And I think that Purdue could kind of fit that same script of Virginia. They obviously know how much pressure is on them heading into the tournament. And Grambling State, they played in the first 4. They got a game under their belt, coming in, playing with house money. So I think maybe in the first 20, they could within the 50.
Maybe like one more question here at the Glass Man. PJ Glasser, host of Send It In on the BetQL Network, weekdays, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on all our social channels. The Glass Man on Twitter at PJ Glasser9. Now, Glassman, we will talk to you tomorrow morning on You Better You Bet's Countdown to Tip-Off as part of our holiday special, 3 Days of Glasser. Give us an early thought, and we'll ask you about all these games tomorrow, also for tomorrow for a Saturday. Has a Saturday spread caught your eye yet here out of any of the games to be played in the second round coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, guys, I got to be honest with you. There's a lot of games that I like, so I'm excited to get into it tomorrow. I'd say my favorite as of right now is probably the Ducks. And we talked about them yesterday. You asked me for my favorite bet in any region. I told you Oregon 50-1 to make the Final Four. Man, did they look good yesterday. Kuznar was awesome. Dante was awesome. And Dana Altman, the way that he changes defenses, man, for Creighton. See, now that we get in the round of 32, people don't think a lot about matchups and which teams are the hardest to prepare for in a quick turnaround. That's what makes Oregon so tough in the tournament, is their defense is very unique, the size that they have, and man, their guard play is really strong. So Creighton struggled a little bit in the first half with Akron yesterday. I think Oregon, guys, certainly like them with the 5.5, and I take money line as well. I think they're going to win that game.
Well, I'll ask you to do this again tomorrow, but since it went so well yesterday, can we get a couple quacks here?
Quack, quack.
Yeah, really, really interesting market for this game. Openers were essentially like either pick or Florida by a little bit, and that's still where we are. Worth noting, Florida's been getting played on a little bit this morning. Some more ones have gone to 1.5s. A couple of the 1.5s are juiced. So a little bit of interest in Florida. The total in the game is astronomical, which is really, really interesting. If you watched Colorado play in the first 4, you would have been like, how are they going to play in a game with a total of 158.5 after what I just saw a couple days ago? Part of it's Florida. That's obviously on how the two teams fit together. Worth noting, Florida lost their starting center to a serious injury in the conference tournament. Obviously, hope he gets better. They will not have him for this game. Colorado brings a couple bigs in this game that could be really, really problematic. Lampkin, the transfer from TCU, who people remember, is their starting center. That'll be an interesting matchup in the game. And just also worth remembering, doesn't have to happen this year. There is frequently a team that wins a first 4 game in these 11, 12, 10 play-ins, and then wins one or a couple games in the NCAA tournament once they end up making it. Colorado State's already out. This is your option, and the Pac-12 has literally not lost so far in the NCAA tournament. Meanwhile, the SEC can't stop losing. Their average teams are already eliminated.